You're listening to the Partisan Comms Podcast.
There is a signal broadcast every second of every day through our television sets.
Welcome to episode 19. I'm Terrence. Nestled in the shadow of the Sierra Nevada mountain range, Reno is a city known for its glitz, glamour, and vibrant nightlife. But beyond the bright lights and bustling casinos lies a rich tapestry of history and mysteries that have captivated curious adventure seekers for generations. In this episode, we'll delve into the heart of the biggest little city in the world, uncovering tales of unexplained phenomena, lost legends, and unsolved enigmas. From the elusive secrets of the Nevada Triangle to the folklore of the Great Basin, we'll explore a few stories that refuse to fade into the shadows. The story of Roy J. Frisch is one of the most intriguing and enduring mysteries in the history of Reno, Nevada. A respected banker and former city councilman, Frisch vanished without a trace on the evening of March 22, 1934, leaving behind many unanswered questions and fueling several theories about his disappearance. Roy Frisch was born and raised in Reno, Nevada. He served in World War I and later became a prominent figure in the local community. He held various political positions, which included city councilman as well as Washoe County assessor, before becoming the head cashier at Riverside Bank, which was owned by George Wingfield, who was a gambler, cattleman, owner of the Goldfield Consolidated Mining Company, and from 1909 to 1932, one of the state's most powerful economic and political figures. Frisch had a good reputation and was considered someone who had integrity, dedication, and by most accounts was a model citizen. At the time of his disappearance, Frisch was approximately 46 years old and lived at 247 Court Street in Reno with his mother Barbara and two sisters Alice and Louise. On the evening of March 22, 1934, Frisch left his home telling his mother and sisters that he was going to see a movie titled The Gallant Lady at the Majestic Theater, which was located at the corner of First Street and Center in downtown Reno. The distance from his house on Court Street to the theater is about 4 blocks. In Nevadan historian Philip Earle's account of Frisch's fateful journey from his house to the theater, he believes Frisch left his residence sometime around 7:30 p.m. and walked 2 blocks east on Court Street before heading north at the Washoe County Courthouse. He then continued north across the Virginia Street Bridge and walked 2 more blocks to reach the theater. Frisch watched the film Gallant Lady and then left the Majestic Theater at approximately 9:30 p.m. Earle believes that on Frisch's way home he took a different route, walking from First Street to Sierra Street, and then followed Sierra southbound to Court Street. Sometime between 9:45 p.m. and 10:15 p.m. he recognized a friend on a street corner and he stopped to talk. At that point, during his walk back, he was approximately 2 blocks from his house. After the conversation with his friend, he resumed the walk back, but never made it home. Now, you may be wondering, why would a well-liked person in the community and lead cashier at a bank disappear under such strange circumstances? Well, this is where the story gets a little complicated. It turns out, Frisch's disappearance occurred just 1 day before he was scheduled to testify before a grand jury regarding an investigation of a confidence scheme involving 2 Reno residents, William J. Graham and James C. McKay. Graham and McKay met each other in Tonopah, Nevada, and quickly became friends. That friendship eventually led to the pair becoming notorious crime bosses who controlled illegal gambling operations in Reno during the 1920s. Graham and McKay also allegedly had ties to Frisch's employer, George Wingfield, who initially orchestrated illegal gambling in Reno and is believed to have leveraged Graham and McKay to help run certain gambling operations. While maintaining a thin affiliation to Wingfield, Graham and McKay had plans for their own enterprise, which included starting a casino, as well as prostitution and bootlegging operations. Supposedly, several months before Frisch's disappearance, he had testified before a grand jury about the Riverside Bank's involvement in a financial scheme run by Graham and McKay. This scheme involved luring an unsuspected person with a planted or lost purse containing cash. When the targeted person returned the lost purse to its owner, the person was offered a tip in a horse race to take place at some distant location. If the horse that was selected won the race, then the target was asked to offer good faith cash to prove that they can cover the loss if the selected horse had lost. The good faith money was deposited into the Riverside Bank, and the target was provided a ticket to collect their winnings at the horse track. However, by the time the victim tried to cash in, the good faith money was gone. Frisch is believed to have told the grand jury about the details regarding the amounts of money which were transferred to the bank and the identities of the parties who received it, which led to the filing of federal charges against Graham and McKay. Interestingly, during this time, Lester M. Gillis, who is more famously known as Babyface Nelson, who was a criminal partner of John Dillinger, was working as a chauffeur and bouncer for Graham and McKay. Following Frisch's disappearance, Babyface Nelson and another gangster named John Paul Chase became suspects. At some point, John Paul Chase was arrested on unrelated charges to Frisch's disappearance. However, during questioning, he revealed to investigators that he and Babyface Nelson murdered Frisch. A NevadaGraham.com article from 2007 states that Graham told investigators that, quote, he and Nelson had watched Frisch leave the theater and then waited for him near his house. When he reached the corner, Nelson had blocked Frisch's path with the black Buick sedan he was driving and then picked a fight with him. He knocked Roy down and then threw him in the back of the car. They had driven out of town, he said, eventually pulling off the highway near Yerington, where they killed Frisch and burned his corpse. However, when authorities took Chase to Yerington, where he claimed he and Nelson murdered Frisch, he was unable to find the location. Investigators concluded that he led them on a wild goose chase and that he was unreliable. The other witness to the alleged crime was his partner Babyface Nelson, who was eventually killed in 1934 in a shootout with the FBI in Barrington, Illinois. With Chase considered an unreliable witness, the only other lead was Nelson, and any information as to the possible location of the body died with him. The unsuccessful searches for Frisch's body has fueled speculation about his fate. Some have theorized that he was dumped in Lake Tahoe. There had also been speculation that he had been bribed and skipped town. Despite some of the alternate theories, no concrete evidence was ever found. Associates of Babyface Nelson later claimed that Frisch had been shot in the head and dumped in an abandoned mine shaft. However, searches of mine shafts and other potential burial sites yielded no results. In the aftermath of Frisch's disappearance, his family kept a porch light on at their home for years, hoping for his return. In 1996, the Reno Police Department reopened the case, but no new evidence was uncovered. Some believe that Frisch's body may have been buried in the backyard of George Wingfield's former home, which was located next to the Frisch family residence. However, this theory has never been proven. Although John Paul Chase told the FBI that Nelson had murdered Frisch and they dumped his body in a mine shaft outside of Reno, he later recanted his testimony. The investigation into Frisch's disappearance was extensive but ultimately fruitless. A massive manhunt was launched and numerous theories emerged. Roy Frisch was legally declared dead in 1943, which allowed his mother Barbara to collect insurance and benefits. Although it's been over 90 years since Frisch went missing, the mystery of his disappearance continues to captivate and perplex those who hear his story. Our next story has been perplexing aviation enthusiasts for many decades. The Nevada Triangle is a region infamous for its puzzling disappearances of aircraft. This area is surrounded by the cities of Reno, Las Vegas, and Fresno, and has drawn comparisons to the notorious Bermuda Triangle. The area's history is rich with tales of both Native American presence and the expansion of settlers. Indigenous tribes, such as the Paiute, inhabited the region, and some of the legends passed down mention the formidable Sierra mountain range. The Nevada Triangle consists of an approximately 25,000 square mile area. There have been claims that in the past 50 years, around 2,000 aircraft have vanished in the area. The first recorded aviation incident within the Nevada Triangle dates back to the early 20th century, setting the stage for a series of mysterious disappearances. Among the most notable was the case of Steve Fawcett, an experienced aviator and adventurer who gained fame by becoming the first person to fly alone in a nonstop trip around the world in a hot air balloon.
11 years ago this month, hikers in Northern California found identification belonging to Steve Fawcett, a world-famous aviator and adventurer who vanished months earlier.
Now, the vast search for Fawcett's missing plane focused national attention on what is now called the Nevada Triangle. It's an area not nearly as infamous as the Bermuda Triangle, but one that's had way more disappearances.
Fawcett vanished while piloting a light aircraft after taking off from Flying M Ranch Airfield in Lyon County on September 3, 2007. Despite extensive search efforts, his remains were not discovered until a year later, deepening the mystery surrounding the region. Search and rescue operations went on for weeks. However, after a month of searching, he was declared dead. No trace of Fawcett was found until a hiker stumbled upon his ID cards along a trail approximately 65 miles from the airfield. Following the discovery of the ID cards, several weeks later, some of his skeletal remains were also discovered and were scattered across a 400-foot-long area near Mammoth Lakes, California. Parts of the aircraft were also located and confirmed to have been Fawcett's. Officials believe that Fawcett likely died upon impact of the crash. They also believe that the remains they were unable to recover were possibly dragged away by wild animals. Another notable incident involved a B-24 bomber nicknamed the Lucky Lee that disappeared in 1943. The aircraft took off on December 5th and was piloted by Second Lieutenant Willis Turvey and his co-pilot, Second Lieutenant Robert Hester. In addition, the B-24 had 4 other crew members on board. The flight was intended as a routine training session and was to include taking off from Hammer Field in Fresno, California, and then fly to Bakersfield, Tucson, Arizona, and then back to Fresno. During the first leg of the flight from Fresno to Bakersfield, the B-24 disappeared, and a search and rescue mission was launched involving several other aircraft. However, the next day, one of the search aircraft, also a B-24, disappeared with a crew of 7 on board. When the second B-24 encountered trouble, 2 of the crew members, the pilot and co-pilot, were able to parachute from the plane. However, when they bailed out, they jumped towards what appeared to be a clearing below covered in snow. That clearing turned out to be a frozen lake, and as both pilots safely landed at the edge of it, the plane crashed into what is known as the Huntington Lake Reservoir. In 1955, the reservoir was drained for repairs to a dam, and the aircraft was located 190 feet below the water's surface, with the remaining crew members still at their stations. Despite the second B-24 being discovered, the Lucky Lee's location remained a mystery until 1960, when it was discovered by U.S. Geological Survey researchers and a National Park Service ranger in a lake in the High Sierra of Kings Canyon National Park, which is approximately 100 miles from the crash site of the second B-24. Over the years, numerous investigations have been conducted to uncover the truth behind the Nevada Triangle. The National Transportation Safety Board has meticulously analyzed crash sites and compiled reports to identify patterns and common factors. Independent researchers and aviation experts have also contributed valuable insights, shedding light on the complexity of flying in such a challenging region. Technological advances have significantly improved the investigation process. Modern navigation systems have enhanced the ability to locate missing aircraft. Satellite imagery and drones now play a crucial role in scouring the rugged terrain for wreckage, increasing the chances of solving the mysteries of the Nevada Triangle. While some researchers have estimated that approximately 2,000 aircraft have gone missing in the Nevada Triangle, others have questioned that estimate and believe it may be inflated. Additionally, some aviation experts say the mystery surrounding the triangle can be explained when examining the area's wind and weather patterns. Like many other mountain ranges, the weather around the Sierra Nevada can create unpredictable flying conditions. Mountain ranges can generate their own weather, which could result in dangerous wind conditions, causing strong updrafts and downdrafts. For aircraft flying at high elevations, there is the potential of losing power due to loss of acceleration capability in thinner air. Over the years, the task of pinpointing a missing aircraft, which may have been difficult to do in remote areas decades ago, is now much easier with more sophisticated technology such as emergency locator transmitters. In the case of the Fawcett disappearance, following a 2-year-long NTSB investigation, officials were unable to identify any mechanical issues with the aircraft and determined that the crash was caused by mountain downdrafts. A similar conclusion was reached for the B-24 that crashed in the Huntington Lake Reservoir, and officials determined that the plane likely lost control in high winds. Several theories have been proposed to explain the phenomenon within the Nevada Triangle. Geographical and meteorological factors are often cited as primary contributors. The Sierra Nevada mountains, with their towering peaks and unpredictable weather patterns, create a challenging environment for pilots. Turbulence and powerful downdrafts can quickly overwhelm small aircraft, leading to catastrophic outcomes. Human error and pilot fatigue are also significant factors. The demanding landscape requires precise navigation, and even experienced pilots can fall victim to miscalculations. Additionally, the remoteness of the area means that emergency assistance is often delayed, reducing the chances of survival in the event of a crash.
Scientists have determined that strong winds from the Pacific create a powerful downdraft when they cross the Sierra, strong enough to slam small planes into the ground. But many of the aircraft that have gone missing weren't small at all, a B-24 bomber and other military craft among them.
Powerful winds and treacherous weather in the Sierra Nevada mountains are major factors in why so many planes crash and disappear.
Despite the severe weather conditions of the area and human error as an explanation for downed aircraft, the Nevada Triangle remains a captivating topic that continues to intrigue aviation enthusiasts. Conspiracy theories and supernatural explanations add another layer of intrigue to the Nevada Triangle. UFO sightings and the proximity to Area 51 fuel speculation about extraterrestrial involvement. While these theories lack substantial evidence, they continue to captivate the public imagination. While many theories attempt to explain the phenomenon, as technology advances and our understanding of the area deepens, the Nevada Triangle begins to reveal its secrets. The SI-TE-CAH are alleged to have been a mysterious tribe of giants which have long captured the imaginations of those intrigued by Native American legends. This enigmatic tribe are said to have once inhabited the Great Basin region, particularly around the area known as Lovelock Cave in Nevada. The story of the SI-TE-CAH is a blend of myth, history, and archaeological curiosity that continues to intrigue researchers and enthusiasts alike. The Paiute tribe, also native to the Great Basin, have preserved the legend of the SI-TE-CAH through their oral traditions. According to Paiute lore, the SI-TE-CAH were a race of red-haired giants who were hostile and antagonistic towards the Paiutes. In the Paiute language, SI-TE-CAH means tool eaters, which is a reference to the tool plants that the giants supposedly used to construct rafts and navigate the region's waterways. According to their oral history, the Paiutes fought a battle against the SI-TE-CAH and eventually drove them away from the area and destroyed their tribe in a final conflict, which was alleged to have taken place in what is now known as Lovelock Cave near Lovelock, Nevada. While there are differing versions of the legend, adding some credibility to the story came in 1911 when a large amount of artifacts and human remains were allegedly discovered by miners in Lovelock Cave. The Paiutes described the SI-TE-CAH as formidable adversaries who raided their villages and disrupted their way of life. The SI-TE-CAH were said to have made some of their implements differently from the northern Paiute and of different stone materials. They had spears but no arrows, and were degraded as cannibals and reported to be excessively fond of decorating with bone ornaments. Conflict between the Paiutes and the SI-TE-CAH eventually culminated in a battle in which the Paiutes forced the giants into Lovelock Cave. Lovelock Cave is located approximately 20 miles south of modern-day Lovelock, Nevada, and in prehistoric times was underneath an ancient body of water called Lake Lahontan. The legend recounts that the Paiutes set fire to the entrance of the cave, trapping the SI-TE-CAH inside and ultimately destroying their tribe.
A woman named Sarah Winnemucca, who was a descendant of Chief Winnemucca of the Paiutes, wrote a book in the 1800s and recounted her people's battle with this race of giants, the SI-TE-CAH. Now, what's fascinating about this is that she says that it was an actual battle, not part of tribal lore or mythology, but something that actually occurred. The SI-TE-CAH were red-haired and lived in the mountains near the Paiute Nation, and they were cannibals. According to the Paiutes, they naturally grew tired of being cannibalized, and they confronted these giants.
A war was started between the giants and the Paiute people. For 3 years, they battled one another. The last of the giants holed themselves up in the Lovelock Cave. And the Paiute people stuffed the openings with a bunch of brush and firewood and lit the place on fire. And that was the end of the red-haired giant cannibals.
According to legend, after forcing the SI-TE-CAH to take refuge in the Lovelock Cave, the Paiutes demanded they come out and fight, but the SI-TE-CAH refused. The refusal resulted in the Paiute, as well as other tribes who joined the fight against the SI-TE-CAH, to shoot arrows at the cave entrance in an effort to draw them out. When this tactic didn't work, they resorted to piling brush, logs, and wood at the mouth of the cave and starting a fire. The smoke from the fire managed to draw some of the SI-TE-CAH out, who were killed by a hail of arrows. The ones who remained in the cave were alleged to have either been burned alive or died from asphyxiation. In the years following the final battle, the entrance of the cave collapsed, leaving it mostly inaccessible until the legend renewed interest in the early 20th century, when miners excavating Lovelock Cave discovered a wealth of artifacts, including tools, baskets, and remains. Among these finds were reported to be skeletal remains that some researchers initially believed to be of unusually large stature. These discoveries prompted speculation that the remains might be connected to the SI-TE-CAH legend and that it may be real. Some of the details of the conflict between the Paiutes and SI-TE-CAH come from the daughter of a Paiute tribal chief named Sarah Winnemucca, who described this account in her book written in 1882 titled Life Among the Paiutes, Their Wrongs and Claims. In the book, she states that the enemy tribe used to raid Paiute settlements and carried prisoners off to eat. The SI-TE-CAH were reported to have had red hair and were also described as somewhat ghoulish in appearance. And to back up her claim, she offered tangible evidence in a piece of clothing she owned, which is alleged to have been made from the red hair of the SI-TE-CAH. This hair was allegedly handed down from father to son, and this hair is what was used to trim the dress that she made with. In 1911, miners began digging at the Lovelock Cave site for guano, which is a form of highly effective fertilizer due to its high nitrogen content and is derived from bird or bat excrement. After stripping layers of guano from the cave, the material was shipped to a fertilizer company in San Francisco. However, after examining the material, fragments of artifacts were discovered, which prompted the first archaeological dig of Lovelock Cave in 1912. And another dig took place in 1924, and approximately 10,000 archaeological specimens were discovered, which included bones, baskets, weapons, and tools. Radiocarbon dating was performed on the artifacts as well as on vegetable material, which dated back to 2030 BC, as well as a human femur, which was dated to 1450 BC, as well as material used to make baskets dating back to 1218 BC. Unfortunately, due to some of the mining operations in the area, many artifacts were reportedly destroyed in the mining process. Despite the discovery of archaeological evidence, there is some debate as to the truth of the claims regarding the SI-TE-CAH legend. During excavations of the Lovelock Cave, there were no reports of discovering remains of red-haired giants. Adding to these doubts is when the battle between the Paiute and SI-TE-CAH was supposed to have occurred, with some accounts putting the event at many hundreds of years ago to 4 or 5 generations ago. The story of the SI-TE-CAH continues to capture the public's imagination and has become a staple of local folklore in Nevada. The legend has been featured in various books, articles, and documentaries, often blending historical facts with imaginative interpretations. Some modern theorists and enthusiasts propose alternative explanations for the SI-TE-CAH, suggesting that they may have been an ancient, now extinct, hominoid species. Other more exotic theories suggest that they were visitors from another realm. A study by the University of Nevada of some of the archaeological specimens found in Lovelock Cave indicates that some of the human remains discovered belonged to people approximately 6 feet tall, leading some skeptics to point out that the claim that the SI-TE-CAH were giants was an embellishment. Today, some of the surviving artifacts can be viewed at a natural history museum located in Winnemucca, Nevada. While mainstream archaeological remains skeptical of the Paiute tale, the legend of the SI-TE-CAH serves as a reminder of the rich tapestry of myths and stories that shape our understanding of the past. The tale of the red-haired giants invites us to explore the boundaries between history and mythology, challenging us to reconsider what we know about the ancient inhabitants of the Great Basin. The legend is also a captivating blend of myth, history, and archaeological intrigue. While the existence of red-haired giants remains up for debate, the story continues to inspire curiosity and wonder, and also stands as a testament to the enduring power of folklore and the human imagination. Anyway, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate, or write a review.
There is a signal broadcast every second of every day through our television sets.
Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes.
Science and technology are propelling us forward at accelerating rates.
Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.